Yes, today is the 29th. Okay. Still working with polynomials. Like I said, we're going to take those characteristics and we're going to draw the graph with them today. Okay. So we're going to start with one like this. First thing we need to ask ourselves, is it written in standard form? Yes, it already is in standard form. Go ahead and copy it down. Okay, now how many terms do I have? 4. 4 terms means I have to use what strategy? Grouping. So we're going to group this and this. This is a little bit of review from our prerequisite chapter. So that first set, what can I factor out? X squared. Okay, and then in here it's going to be x plus what? 7. Then I'm going to factor out a negative 4. It's going to be x plus 7. Remember, if we are finding the zeros, another term for find the zeros is find the solutions, find the x-intercepts. All of those things are synonymous. So right now what we're doing is we're setting this equal to 0. After we factor it like that, do our grouping, we're going to collect our 2 GCFs into a binomial. Then my blue one is my x minus 7. Am I done? No. Ms. Jenkins, what can I do next? Yeah, we have a difference of squares. So the red one, I can break into x minus 2, x plus 2, and then x plus 7. And this all equals 0. If I go back to my original equation, what's the degree of this polynomial? 3. So how many solutions should I have? 3. Okay, so now we go back down to the bottom. In order to make this 0, remember you're using a 0 property, anything times 0 equals 0. On this one, x can equal 2, x can equal negative 2, x can equal negative 7. So those are our solutions, or x-intercepts, or zeros, however you want to refer to them. That's all the same thing. The other thing that we're going to get in the habit of graphing with these are our y-intercepts. Okay? In this case, what's our y-intercept? Negative 28. Okay? So I'm going to put that on here in red. Y-intercept equals negative 28. This is the stuff that we are going to use to graph this. On this first one, I'm going to kind of sketch it with you. And then I've got a coordinate plane on my slides after that. But I want to show you what it needs to look like. It does not have to be anything that's like crazy detailed or like beautiful necessarily. Okay, so we're going to start by creating our coordinate plane. Okay, and then we're going to put our solutions on the x-axis. So I'm going to go back and look. If I'm thinking left to right, I've got negative 7 is the furthest to the left and positive 2 is the furthest to the right. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to add 7 tick marks to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then 2 to the right. And then I'm going to put my solutions at negative 7, negative 2, positive 2. In this case, my y-intercept is negative 28. I don't expect you to do 28 tick marks all the way down. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to go way down here to the bottom, and we're going to say this is negative 28. We're just going to label it as negative 28, and then I'm going to put my point. Now we start to ask ourselves about the behavior of this, okay? First, we have 3 solutions, so how many turns are we going to have? 2 turns, okay, which works out. All right. What about my end behavior? My right end. Okay, it's an odd degree. So is my right end going to be rising or falling? It's going to be rising. So I know my right end is going to be rising. So that means if it's odd, my left end has to be what? Has to be falling. Okay, so then all we're going to do, so I'm going to take my pencil and we're going to go, I'm going to use black here. I'm going to go up through, try not to be so shaky, up through my first solution, curve down. I've got to go through that negative 28 and then up through positive 2. So it looks something like that. Right? This curve at the top, up here, this curve, doesn't really matter how high you go. Hey, now if we were to put in -3, -4, -5, -6, we would be able to like plot all the points and figure out how high it actually goes. We're not going to do that. Okay, we are just sketching a graph. We know that it curves there. And then when it does go down, you do need to go through that -28 point. So your graph would look about like that. It doesn't need to be any more advanced than that. Okay? Falling on the left, rising on the right, going through -7, -2, and +2, as well as -28 on the y-axis. Any questions on that process? Okay, what I want you to notice here is that when I went through each of those red dots, I just kind of went through them smoothly, right? Like pretty, like straight through. Okay. One thing we're going to talk about next is called multiplicity. And what happens to it is, let's say that we had some multiplicity at -2. Okay, what's going to happen is as it goes down, it might flatten out a little bit through the dot. Okay, so that's what we're going to get into next here. Okay, don't write anything down yet. I'm going to tell you the order I want you to write this down. Okay, and I want to explain what multiplicity really means first. Okay, so let's add that as like a heading. Okay, multiplicity. And I'm not going to put a whole polynomial up here and solve it. I'm just going to give an example. Okay, so let's say that we get our solutions as -2, x could equal -2, x could equal 3, x could equal -2, and x could equal -2. Let's say those are the solutions for whatever polynomial we just solved. Okay, which one shows up multiple times? -2 shows up 3 times. Okay, so is that an odd or even number? Showed up 3 times. Odd. Okay, so this is what I want you to write first. Okay, is the odd multiplicity. Okay, if a 0 is of odd multiplicity, the graph crosses the x-axis at r. Okay, it still goes through the graph. Just like we did on our last one. It still goes through the point if it has odd multiplicity. Okay, it tends to flatten out near zeros with multiplicity greater than 1. Okay, so what that means is if I have a multiplicity of 3 right here, on our graph earlier, we were at -2, right? Like this. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here for a second, then I'll zoom back out. When we were at -2, it just went pretty much like straight through that line, right? Let's say we go up and it just goes like this, right? At -2. So if we have just -2 as one single solution, it looks like that. It's nice and smooth right through -2. If we had odd multiplicity, we're still going to go through that dot, but it's going to flatten out as it goes through it. So it's going to go like this. It's going to come like that, flatten out as it goes through, and then still continue down. Okay, the higher the multiplicity is, if it's odd, the flatter it gets, but it's going to flatten out like that. Does that make sense? Okay, if it were going the other way, just to give you the picture of that, it flattens out and then goes up. So it still crosses the axis, just flattens out a little bit. Okay, even things change a little bit more. Okay, if an r is 0, and or if it's an even multiplicity, the graph touches the x and turns around, the x-axis. It bounces off is how I'm going to refer to it. So add that pink part. And then if you want to put in like parentheses or underneath of it, bounces off the x-axis. So to our example on the bottom here, even multiplicity would look like this. Now -2 shows up how many times? Twice. 2 times, that's an even number. So we have even multiplicity. So the way that looks is our graph. Let's say that it goes up and then comes down to -2, and it goes right back up. See how it just bounces off that point on the x-axis? It doesn't cross the x-axis. It just gets to 2 and goes back up, or -2. Okay? So that's what I mean by bounces off. If it were the other way, comes down, goes back up, goes through -2, and comes back down. Okay? It bounces off the x-axis. Does not cross the x-axis. Okay, here's our next problem. We're going to do the same thing we did last time. Group it, find your zeros. I'm giving you a heads up here. We're going to have some multiplicity. You need to identify whether it's even or odd, and then go ahead and try to graph it. After we factor it out, this is what I get. Okay, put asterisk next to my -2's because they're multiplicity, right? There's multiple of the same answer. Is that even or odd multiplicity? Even, because 2 is an even number. It shows up 2 times. Okay, so that means it's going to bounce off a -2 and go back to where it came from. Okay, my y-intercept is -8. So now we go ahead and graph it. I've got my solutions at -2 and +2, and my y-intercept at -8. Now we need to talk about our end behavior. Hey, it's odd. Is my right end going to be rising or falling? Rising. My left end then has to be fall. So my line, and remember -2 is multiplicity, right? So I have that. So it's going to go up to -2, bounce off, go down through -8, and then up through 2. Just like that. Make sure that at -2 it does not cross the x-axis. It goes up, it touches the x-axis, but does not cross it. Any questions on that one? Okay, this one has a step that we need to do before we get to our factoring. Well, I guess it's really part of factoring, but look at all of our terms there. X to the 4th minus 4x cubed minus 45x squared. Whoa, they all have something in common. What do they all have in common? X squared. So we need to factor out a common factor first. So x squared is going to go outside. That means inside is x squared minus 4x minus 45. And then we're thinking about the factors of 45 that add up to -4. This x squared goes along for the ride. So my first solution is 9. My next one is -5. But my degree is 4 here. I should have 4 solutions. I only have 2 right now. Where are my other 2 solutions? on the outside. Yeah, in the form of what, Elon? In the form of x squared. Hey, remember that x squared is actually, I can replace this right here, x squared is x times x, right? Okay, what we have to remember is x squared is two different x's. Okay, so we have the black x and the orange x. Well, this black x could be 0, so that's one solution. The orange x also could be 0, so that's another solution. And that's all because I have that squared. Okay, so now do I have 4 solutions? Yes, but 0 shows up twice. So what's that mean about 0? It's going to bounce off of 0. Okay, one thing that's missing in my original equation, I don't have a constant at the end where it says plus this or minus that. It's got to be 0, right? So my y-intercept is 0. If your solution, if you have a solution that is 0, then that means it also has to be your y-intercept. Okay, it's going to be right at the origin. And now let's go graph this one. So I'm going to put my 0 in the middle with orange, okay, and then my 9 and negative 5. All right, now let's talk about end behavior. Is the degree even or odd? Even. So that means our end behavior is going to be the same on both sides. So are they both going to be rising or both going to be falling? Rising, because it's positive. So they're both going up. So my graph is going to go through negative 5, up to 0, bounce off of 0, and then up through 9. It look about like that. Oh, I missed the 5, but it should be going through the 5. How do we feel about that? Give me thumb gauge. Everybody's got thumbs. Okay. All right, your homework is on Google Classroom. Check this out right here. All you're doing is what we just did. Okay? You've got 6 minutes. Hey, 6 minutes is enough time for every one of you to have at least one thing done.